Welcome to Libraries Today. This program is intended to recognize and highlight the unexpected ways local libraries serve their communities today. I'm your host, Stan Howe. This episode of Libraries Today will feature discussions on how libraries can play key roles in promoting community and economic development in their communities. To explore this topic and discuss in detail, we have Kent Spellman with us here today. Kent is the founding executive director of the West Virginia Community Development Hub, based in Fairmont and Charleston. He also serves on several boards of directors, including the West Virginia Center for Civic Life. Kent, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Glad to be here.
Well, first, let's talk a little bit about yourself. How did you end up in West Virginia?
Well, I found my way to West Virginia about 43 years ago. I was a very young man, and I had been working in Washington, D.C. after growing up in Connecticut and going to school in Vermont. And my wife at the time and I and our young son used to come out to West Virginia for weekends and vacations, and it's just such a remarkably beautiful place. And one of those trips, we just looked at each other and said, you know, we could live here. And sure enough, very shortly thereafter, we moved to West Virginia, living first in Ritchie County and then in Doddridge County.
What made you become such an advocate for the state? Why are you so passionate?
To some degree, you know, maybe it's the passion of the converted. I'm not from West Virginia, but when I came here, I was amazed at what West Virginia had to offer. It's a beautiful state. It has this incredibly diverse flora and fauna. It actually has remarkably wonderful small communities. They have some challenges. They've always had some challenges, but they are really friendly. They're really safe. They're really welcoming. And I think that environment is what drew me to West Virginia. And in addition to that, I saw, even 43 years ago, that this state has incredible potential. And we struggle sometimes to realize that potential, but the potential for this state is huge.
You were recently a presenter at the West Virginia Library Association's Spring Fling. Let's take a look at what you had to say about the National Civic Health Index study.
So, there is some good news. This is from the National Conference on Citizenship, national organization. Until recently, it never had a contact in West Virginia to bring this study to West Virginia. So we were ignored in the Civic Health Index, the National Civic Health Index. The Hub and the West Virginia Secretary of State's office came together this past year, and West Virginia is now included in the Civic Health Index. And the preliminary results from that, which are based on 2013 numbers and interviews, find this. Wow, look at that. West Virginians, in terms of talking with their neighbors, #1 in the nation. West Virginia, in terms of doing favors for neighbors, #3 in the nation. How often do we hear from family and friends? #5 in the nation. We're right up there at the top. So I would ask you, do those things matter to you? Yeah, they matter to me. That's one of the reasons I stay in West Virginia is because of that kind of neighborliness. I think that libraries are well positioned to help collect and share success stories and good news from your communities. I'm a community developer, and one of the things I always say, Karen's heard me say this probably too many times, but all community development begins with a conversation. And as soon as the conversation ends, community improvement ends. It is how we come together, talk together, learn to work together that improves communities. And think about your library as a place for that dialogue. Dialogue is a conversation, but dialogue doesn't mean anything unless you let it move into deliberation. What is deliberation? It means, okay, we're talking, so let's now talk about what the solutions are going to be. Let's deliberate on solutions. Again, a great role for libraries. Can you do it in your particular library, that physical building? I don't know. Some of you may have community rooms where you can do that. It doesn't matter where you have it. Have it in a church basement or somewhere else. And then the place for action. One of the things, as I said, it has to move into action. We have to see outcomes. Sometimes they can be small, relatively easy things, like cleaning up Main Street, sweeping the cigarette butts off the street. I don't care what it is, but it could start with that and move into progressively better and more impactful things.
So Ken, what motivated you to talk about the things you talked about in the clip?
Well, you know, one of the things that is highlighted in newspapers across the state and across the nation is this annual Gallup poll that measures the happiest state in the nation. And for 5 years running, West Virginia has been ranked as the unhappiest state in the nation. In addition, Huntington and Charleston are the two most miserable cities in the nation, according to those Gallup polls. And, you know, I came here of my own volition. I have no intention of ever leaving West Virginia, and I don't consider myself an idiot. And I think that the reason that we have these rankings from things like Gallup is because they're asking the wrong questions. And our effort to bring this Civic Health Index to West Virginia is an effort to try to ask the right questions about what the values of our lives here in West Virginia are, what really matters to us, and why we stay here and why we believe in West Virginia so strongly.
Is it a matter of perception?
It's a matter of perception to a large degree. I think when we talk among ourselves, we often find ourselves denigrating West Virginia, even among ourselves. And that perception extends to those outside of the state. One of the things that the Hub is working really hard to do with folks like the Center for Civic Life and other partners across West Virginia is to change the narrative about West Virginia, to change the way we see ourselves, and to change the way that those outside of West Virginia see West Virginia. We have such tremendous promise. We're a great place to live, great place to rear children. And we need to tell that story in a more positive way and a more effective way.
When we come back, Kent will explain what type of role West Virginia libraries play in creating a stronger, healthier, and wealthier state. We'll be right back after this brief message.
This new dad is picturing a tree house in the sky, but he's ignoring the instructions. Good luck, big guy. His kids know that he's building without a clue. Never been so good with nails and glue. Now we're trapped inside a box. I hope mom knows what to do. Oh! See, you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are.
Can you concern with me? Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now.
No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more.
So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child.
So let's join hands, book people unite.
Unearth hidden passion.
Come on, we'll have a good time.
Planting seeds of inspiration to motivate some magic.
Change the writing on the wall, writing on the wall.
And make a difference. One book can inspire a child. One book can be the first little thing that helps to change a life.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Dad's home!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome back to Libraries Today. We're speaking with Kent Spellman about how libraries can play a vital role within communities as a place for civic engagement. Kent, before the break, we were talking about how libraries are in the process of helping make West Virginia a stronger, healthier, wealthier state. How so?
Well, I think that libraries are really at the center of social fabric in our communities. And if they're not, they should be working to make themselves at the center of social fabric. What we know is that all community improvement begins with a conversation. And as soon as that conversation ends, community improvement tends to end. So libraries can be what we call one of those third places. You know, we all have homes, we all have places where we work, but what communities really need are third places where they can bring citizens together to talk comfortably and safely about things that matter to them. I think libraries are the ideal location for third places. The conversations have to be wide-ranging. They have to be sometimes some ground rules. They have to be open and transparent. They have to welcome everyone. But those conversations in community after community where we see great things happening is because of those sustained conversations. And libraries just seem to me to be the perfect place to start and host those conversations in the communities.
So libraries, I think, have this image. We were talking before the show about a Seinfeld episode, the library cop who comes in and shh, you know, and all that kind of thing. That's also probably a matter of perception. If we go back to perception,
Right.
That's also something that I think libraries have to overcome.
They do. There's certainly places in libraries where that quiet is appreciated. But I think there needs to be places in all of our libraries where conversation is encouraged. There's a lot of ways they can do this. One thing that we've seen work is weekly conversations. Sometimes it's in a restaurant. Sometimes it's in a church. Sometimes, why not in a library? But weekly conversations where everybody in the community knows that, for example, you could have a brown bag conversation each week at a certain time in your library. People could come during their lunch hour, bring their brown bag lunch, and they could get together every week at that same time to talk about how to improve their communities. What a great role for libraries to play in terms of moving their communities forward.
Some libraries across the state are becoming these small business centers. Here's an example.
Vienna Public Library in Wood County partnered with their local Red Cross to organize a blood drive in Parkersburg. With a sign-up sheet in the library, staff members were able to recruit qualified donors and assign them with an appointment time for blood donation. On the day of the blood drive, these hometown heroes are checked in and prepped to have their blood drawn by the Red Cross. Blood drives are a great way to not only help those in need, but a great way to bring the community together for a great cause. The Hampshire Public Library holds an annual prom dress giveaway to unite teenage girls in need with free and gently used prom dresses. Brooke County Public Library schedules exercise classes in the library on certain days of the week to encourage an active, healthy lifestyle. Many libraries participate in job fairs across the state, helping West Virginians find employment. Buffalo Creek Memorial Public Library in Logan County teaches preschool children how to plant and grow their own food. They meet at the library to care for the plants and examine their progress. When plants are ready to pick, the library partners with the community and organizes a farmer's market to sell and share homegrown food. Here are some examples of what the libraries are doing to make a difference in their community.
If you have any questions, please contact your local library. Stay tuned for more conversation with Kent Spellman when we return after this brief message.
This summer is gonna be great. Get out, get active, and get your imagination going. Enjoy all the fun, adventures, and excitement you can think of. Read. Discover stories that you'll love, that will inspire you to create the stories, live the stories, and be the stories. The library has it all. Where you want to go and what you want to know. So make a plan to get the most out of your vacation. Join us at your library this summer. On your mark, get set, read.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Welcome back to Libraries Today. We're speaking with Kent Spellman about how libraries are transitioning into small business centers in the community. Libraries serve many roles as coaches, mentors, facilitators, and teachers, more than simply as sources of information. Kent, can you add more to that?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in rural West Virginia particularly don't always have the internet access or the hardware needed to take advantage of what's out there in terms of business development opportunities. This is both local folks who may want to start a business or people who want to access online job application opportunities. Libraries can be the place where they can go, get some coaching, get some help, and have access to both the internet service and the equipment that they need to get their business started or to file that online job application. So they can serve that role for sure. And I also think that, we talked earlier about how libraries can be that third place where people come together to talk about challenges in their community and how to fix them. I think it's also a great place for businesses to network together, to support one another, to learn how to encourage local buying as opposed to big box franchise buying. The Hub is a great believer in buying local and in supporting locally owned businesses. And it's not just an altruistic belief that drives us towards that. We believe in supporting local business because locally developed businesses and locally owned businesses circulate almost 4 times as much of their revenues back into the community as those businesses that are owned by out-of-state interests. Similarly, locally owned businesses give to local charities almost 4 times as much as those franchise businesses do. So we believe that locally owned business is at the heart of community development and community-based economic development.
Are you finding libraries, maybe not necessarily in West Virginia, but libraries across the country, are they starting to do this sort of thing?
Yeah, I think they are. I think some libraries in West Virginia are right on this. They're ahead of the curve in terms of doing that community engagement and that business engagement work. Some are a little slower. But I think one of the things we'd love to see in West Virginia is for libraries all across the state to take a real leadership role in building their communities and building their local economies. This is a tough time for West Virginia. We're facing some real challenges. We've seen the decline of the coal industry, particularly in southern West Virginia. Tremendous amount of job loss. We've seen the natural gas prices drop so that industry has slowed down as well. This results in a great reduction in severance tax income for our state and for our counties. So when our counties don't have the severance tax income coming to them, that means that libraries don't have as much income coming into them. So it's probably the right time for libraries to engage their community and to show value to their community because they're going to need that community support. It's not going to be a check from the county commission quite as easily as it was. So community engagement is another way for libraries to broaden the level of support that they have in their community.
So if you were to summarize for us, as you take a look at what we've talked about today, and you were putting together a game plan for libraries, what would that game plan look like?
I'd love to see the Hub get together with the Library Commission and with libraries across the state and set up a very intentional plan for bringing this conversation to libraries, both large libraries and small libraries all across the state. This means some training, which we would be glad to provide. It means librarians don't just become librarians, they also become conversation facilitators. And there's training that can help them do that more effectively. This stuff doesn't just happen. It doesn't happen on its own. It requires that there be some intentionality and that there be some training and that there be some programming to help libraries learn how to do this, how to serve this role in their communities. I think the time is right.
And it'd be a real change for a lot of librarians. You talk about the training aspect of it. It's a change in mindset, it seems to me.
It's a change in the entire culture of what a library is. But as libraries go through the changes that are brought on by technology and the internet and all these other things that we used to have to go to the library for, but not so much anymore, they just have to evolve their role to serve a new purpose in our communities. And I think this is a great place to start, bringing that community together, hosting those conversations, focusing on how the library and what goes on in it can provide leadership for community improvement and community development throughout that community and throughout that region. What a great resource. I think it's been underutilized.
As we've gone through this program, I think everyone realizes where their local libraries are, but they may not be familiar with the Hub. And we've mentioned the Hub several occasions. Can you give us a little more background about what it is exactly?
We work to build stronger communities. We want our communities to be healthier, and we want them to be more prosperous. There's lots of room for improvement in all those areas in West Virginia communities. We do this in a couple of ways. One is we do not bring the community stuff, but we help them figure out how to do it themselves. We help them build their capacity at the local level to have the conversations, deliberate on the actions that are needed, and implementing those actions. So that local capacity building piece is a big part of what we do. This is one of the places where libraries could really fit in and really help us be more effective. We also develop specific sectors in community and economic development. So for example, we see a lot of interest in building local food systems. So we helped form the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition, which is a statewide entity to help build our local food economy. We have an obesity problem in West Virginia. So we helped create the West Virginia Physical Activity Network to help communities get moving more, to help deal with that obesity issue. So we identify different areas of community need, and we bring partners together in a collaborative way to try to help those communities address that opportunity or that need. We also dive into policy. Community change happens best if it's coupled with policy change. So we help communities figure out what they need to do in terms of policy change at the state level in order to advance their interests. And we're trying to build a much stronger communications infrastructure where we can continue to improve the way we tell the story about West Virginia. We can continue to change that narrative. And this communication piece is another area where libraries could serve a really important function in getting the stories, the positive stories out into their community, and also collecting those positive stories from their community to share with other libraries across the state.
You're located in Charleston and Fairmont.
We are. We have an office in Fairmont. It's been the main office, but I'll be retiring in a few weeks, actually. And the leadership is transitioning to the woman who is my deputy director, Stephanie Tyree. She's based in Charleston. So our Charleston office is sort of ramping up, and we're adding some new staff. And also we're doing a lot more work in the southern part of the state right now as we try to help communities deal with the economic downturn that resulted from the decline of the coal industry.
Someone who's interested in going to the Hub for help, how do they contact you?
Gosh, the easiest way is to jump on our website, which is wvhub.org. And there's a lot of information. There's some great stories. Make sure you check out our blog section and sign up for our newsletter, because those newsletters have a wealth of information, not just good stories, but how-tos about how you can improve your community. So wvhub.org, and make sure you register so that you can start getting our newsletters and the information about all the events and trainings and workshops that are being held around the state.
As we close out the program, when you look at libraries and their role in civic engagement in the future as we go down this path, where do you see it peaking? Where do you see libraries in 5 years?
I think libraries in 5 years should strive to be the heart of the community. They should strive to be the place where people come together. You know, a lot of conversation used to happen at the post office when people would have to go to the post office and get their mail. Maybe you remember those days. Not so much anymore. We need these places where people come together, where they meet their neighbors, they talk together reasonably, safely, respectfully, and they identify ways to make their world, in that community, a better place to live. I think all libraries should be striving to be that social fabric center within those communities. Those places largely have disappeared. It's now time for libraries to step up and grab that role.
Kent, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your interest.
The West Virginia Library Commission encourages lifelong learning, individual empowerment, civic engagement, and an enriched quality of life by enhancing library and information services for all West Virginians. For questions or comments regarding topics on this show, please do not hesitate to call us at 1-800-642-9021 or visit us online at www.librarycommission.wv.gov. To keep you updated on library happenings in the state and beyond, the West Virginia Library Commission uses the WVLC website, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube channel, and the Library Lookout newsletter. If you haven't liked us or followed us on social media yet, please do.
Kids will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes twice a day. They have the time.
I want to thank our guest, Ken Spellman, for speaking with us today about how libraries are becoming centers for civic engagement. Libraries are not only buildings with printed and digital collections, but places for dialogue, deliberation, and interaction. People are the center of the library's mission to inspire and cultivate learning, advance knowledge, and nurture and strengthen communities. As the needs of communities change, as the very nature of information access changes, public libraries must also change. The Library Commission is committed to working with libraries, communities, state agencies, and other partners to incorporate these changes and ensure a vital future for this great state. I'm your host, Stan Howe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Libraries Today.